seek the shade, hydrate well, don't move around a lot, avoid the sun in peak hours.
Words to live by this weekend as parts of Ontario swelter under a heat dome. Heat warnings are in effect tonight across most of southern Ontario. That includes Ottawa, Windsor, and right here in the city of Toronto. Our Hoea Fidel joins us live from David Crombie Park tonight. Hoea, how's it feeling out there now?
Maribel, it's feeling like it is the hottest day of the year, which it is. And we're here at David Crombie Park, as you mentioned, and families are really doing their best to cool down. The high of temperatures today reached about 35 degrees, and with the humidex, that was 44. And so people are here cooling down in the park. They're also sitting out in the shade, all in an attempt to beat the heat. Now, I spoke with people today about what they did to avoid this excruciating heat, and here's what they had to say.
It's hot and muggy. Yep. You're definitely like running from one sun umbrella to another.
I had a soccer match, so I was very hot, so I didn't really want to go to the pool. So we went to this pool, and it's very cold. That's why I really like it.
I was out at like 7 in the morning, and it was hot. So I'm like, yeah, this isn't. We stayed inside the whole morning. Yeah, we just went right back in.
Scroll up
Kids
prompter,
came out
please.
and they were like, no, not doing it yet.
Well, Hoea, you also spoke with an advocate for the city's homeless population, and she doesn't think the city's plan to provide heat relief is effective.
That's right, Maribel. Last year, there were 7 cooling centers, one of which was 24 hours, and they were all staffed and provided resources to people like snacks and water. But the city has since changed their plan. They are now operating a heat relief network that includes more than 300 places across the city where people can go to cool down. And a street nurse I spoke to today says that this new system is actually not the best, especially for vulnerable populations like homeless people. She says many of the shelters that are included in the network are actually overcrowded. Other places like libraries and community centers and waiting pools like this just aren't as effective. Take a listen.
We've heard time and time again of people getting kicked out of shopping malls. I've heard some of my clients tell me they don't feel comfortable there because they feel like they don't belong just by the way they look compared to people in shopping centers. So they're not accessible places. As well, these sites don't offer support, food, or water for people that need it, which is something that's really missing that the cooling centers had last year.
The city says the heat relief network is really established to provide relief for everybody in the city. They say that, waiting pools like this one are in fact, more appropriate for children, but there are libraries and community centers and respite centers where the homeless population can actually go to cool down on very hot days like today. I'll send it back to you, Maribel.
All right, thanks, Hoea. Okay, let's bring in Amanda Weldon now for a sense of whether or not we're going to get any relief from this sweltering heat, Amanda.
Yeah, Maribel, I was thinking about you earlier because all I was thinking was, she must be loving this. She loves the heat, but sometimes it gets just way too hot. So I actually have good news. The heat is going to dissipate. 22 degrees, but that's Sunday morning. So normally we are around that by the afternoon hours. By the morning hours, widespread, we're already going to be feeling into those high 20s. Okay, by the afternoon, by Sunday, we're still feeling those high humidex values, and that's definitely uncomfortable, feeling like 34 degrees. And by the evening, we're still feeling like 31. So when we're talking about those heat alerts, those heat warnings in place, usually it's also associated with those evening hours. We're not really cooling off very much. And associated with that too, when we talk about the heat and the humidex in the atmosphere, it kind of sets the stage for active weather. So we could still be getting into some active weather. We do have a front passing on through. We also do have thunderstorm risk in through eastern Ontario. We've been dealing with that through Saturday, and that will continue to be a story for southwestern Ontario through the overnight hours. Okay, so with some watches in place, we could start to see some stormy activity, but this is to answer your question too, Maribel. With that, it could start to peel off those humidex values. So after the storm comes, after we start to see these heavy downpours of rain, we will kind of clear out the atmosphere, wring out the towel, and we'll be talking about how those temperatures will change just slightly when we come back with you later in the hour.
And we'll check in a bit then. Thanks, Amanda.
Sounds good.
Now side to the right. Oh.
Awesome, thanks.
Wow, running some drills in today's heat, not a problem for these athletes. We'll tell you what's keeping them on their toes a little later in the show. But first, a man is in serious condition after being struck by a car early this morning near Avenue Road and Davenport Road. Police say a pedestrian was hit by a vehicle around 1 a.m. The victim was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police say if anyone witnessed the incident or was in the area at the time, to get in contact with traffic services. Well, 50 years ago today, the first human steps on the moon captured the world's attention. The lunar landing in 1969 also started a new era of imagination and discovery. As Lorenda Redekop shows us, people around the world are marking the historic event, including one of the men who took that walk on the moon.
Man on the moon. Boy.
Newscasters live on air knew they were witnessing history.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
July 20th, 1969, and those powerful words from Neil Armstrong.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Buzz Aldrin, the second man to take those steps, now 89, visited the spot where he launched into space.
Turbo pumps up to flight speed. 5.
Today, 3 astronauts marked the historic event by blasting off themselves. Not to the moon, but the International Space Station.
50 years after a small step for man, the Soyuz rocket and its multinational crew take a giant leap off the launch pad.
That first moonwalk led to this being possible. It was a dangerous mission. U.S. President Richard Nixon even had a second speech ready in case it failed. But that day, Buzz Aldrin's 11-year-old son had a much different worry on his mind.
He said, what I worried about the most was I was looking at this wire that was coiled up, lying between the lunar module and the antenna it pointed back at Earth. It wasn't lying flat. And I was scared to death my dad was going to trip over that and embarrass me in front of my friends at school.
50 years later, the focus is on other planets. Going to Mars doesn't seem so out of this world anymore. But there's still more to learn from the moon.
We do need to go back to the moon because we've only explored an area about the size of a medium-sized town up there, and it's all at the equator.
Something that could be up to the youngest space junkies to discover. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, space enthusiasts here in Toronto celebrated the anniversary at the Ontario Science Centre. And our Angelina King takes us back in time and looks to the future of space exploration.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
The Apollo astronauts were my heroes.
Former Canadian astronaut Robert Thirsk remembers the moment vividly and how it inspired him.
They were pushing new frontiers. They were taking reasonable risks to do something meaningful for society. And I wanted to be part of that.
Now he is. Thirsk shared his story of spending 6 months in space, just one part of a day filled with all things lunar landing and Canadian contributions to space exploration.
Hopefully they learn more. Hopefully they make some incredible memories, and it's a day that they don't ever forget.
So people here can also check out these interactive exhibits to see what it's like to be in space, because while we are celebrating history, it's also about looking to the future and inspiring the next generation.
I think now we're going on Mars and other stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
I think it's cool, but I think I would be terrified if I had to go on a rocket into space and land on the moon, because your life is at stake, and I'd just be so freaked out.
Maybe one day you'll be an astronaut.
Yeah, this is what I would like in future.
It would be really cool to be floating around.
The celebrations, not just for the kids.
I want them to remember this moment.
It's really cool to just see all the little things about, daily life of space.
I think people need to keep going.
NASA plans to return to the moon in 2024, and Canada has joined Lunar Gateway, which will send astronauts back to the moon and set the stage for further Mars exploration.
I think that society and I think the young people need another audacious, near impossible challenge to go for. So My desire is that humanity pursue a Mars mission. I'd like to see Canadians walking on Mars. I would challenge the world to do this collaboratively, with Canada as a partner, by 2033 or perhaps 2035.
Who knows, maybe one of these youngsters will be doing just that. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
Anger in Puerto Rico. Protesters taking aim at the island's governor, Ricardo Rossello. More on the so-called Ricky leaks after the break. The RCMP is investigating the homicides of 2 people found dead along the Alaska Highway in northern BC. Police have identified the victims as a 23-year-old son of a senior Australian police officer and a 24-year-old American woman. The two were a couple and traveling together, and now Australian police are providing more information about the role of 2 of their detectives who were sent to Canada.
The RCMP, Rocky Mountain Police, an outstanding organisation. We have the utmost confidence in their capacity and capability to run this investigation. But our Commissioner has made a great decision to send over 2 officers to assist in the liaison, purely, to assist the family, both families, our member and the young lady who resides in the USA, to assist them.
The bodies were found Monday on Highway 97, about 20 kilometers south of Laird Hot Springs. A blue 1986 Chevrolet van with Alberta license plates was located at the scene, according to police. There is no information about suspects so far. A group in the Northwest Territories is launching a pilot program for young people with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder. The goal is to help them make the transition from foster care to adult life. The CBC's Kate Kyle has that story.
You got your high energy cardio music going? Okay, so we're just gonna go for 5 minutes.
This 19-year-old is training for his future. Jordan, who asked CBC not to use his last name, is learning to navigate life outside foster care.
I was born with FASD. I learned to cope with it. I somewhat have short-term memory loss. Just learning new things.
Do you want to stay at 7.5? One more? Okay.
Corey Garvey is Jordan's navigator. They've paired up as part of a new pilot project that helps support young people with FASD who are aging out or have already left foster care. Jordan turned 19 in April.
Yeah, I didn't really worry about anything until I turned 19, because that's when the adult life comes in.
They meet once a week for 4 hours, working on things he cares about and how to find the help he needs.
Someone who works with the youth one-on-one and also makes sure that things that are really important in their life are being fulfilled, like that they're managing their money properly, that they have a place to live.
The territorial government says that all young people leaving foster care do so with a personalized transition plan and a support team. But until now, there have been no programs for those with FASD who are leaving foster care.
They just need the support from those of us who don't have a disability so they can shine. And I think that's the most important thing to remember.
So you have a $700 paycheck. What's the first step that you do?
Throw some of it in my savings.
Jordan has big plans. He wants to attend college in Alberta next year to become a music teacher. Jordan also has these words for other young people with FASD.
It's okay to have FASD. I want to let you guys know that you're not alone in the world.
Kate Kyle, CBC News, Yellowknife.
Protests continue in Puerto Rico amid demands for the island's governor to resign over controversial text messages and a corruption scandal. A large group of demonstrators again marched through the capital, San Juan, today, and Stephen D'Souza has the story.
For almost 2 weeks, by day and at night, Puerto Ricans have flooded the streets as residents of the U.S. territory sound the drumbeat for Governor Ricardo Rossello's resignation.
We'll be out here till he resigns.
We're tired of the abuse
of so many years of corruption.
The anger began July 9th. A small batch of private messages between Rosayo and 9 men in his administration were leaked. They were laced with vulgar and misogynistic language. But public anger exploded when Puerto Rico's Center for Investigative Journalism released close to 900 pages of chat logs, where Rosayo and the group insulted women, attacked political opponents, even mocked the victims of Hurricane Maria. Activists say the chats confirm long-held suspicions of corruption and mismanagement in Puerto Rico's government.
It's like when you see it and it's in your face and it feels like the governor, the person that's supposed to be representing you, is mocking you, that was the final straw.
Rosayo has apologized but refuses to step down.
My
responsibility is to continue working and provide you with these results. One will always face different challenges.
Verona says the problem is bigger than the governor, from austerity measures following the territory's bankruptcy to the mishandling of the aftermath of the hurricane, in which many accuse the government of vastly undercounting how many actually died in the storm.
We have been trusting the government to do what's right. We've seen it fail. We've seen how our people are suffering, are unemployed, are leaving the island. And I think for most people, this is the point where people won't stand for it anymore.
Protesters have clashed with police at times, but have been peaceful for the most part. Activists are planning a massive general strike on Monday, hoping to keep the pressure up and force a change. Stephen D'Souza, CBC News, New York.
Tensions are rising again in one of the world's most important shipping routes. Yesterday, Iranian forces seized a British-flagged vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. Around 1/5 of the world's oil passes through that strait, which is now a flashpoint in a growing dispute. CBC's Rebecca Collard has more.
Dramatic video released today by Iran's Revolutionary Guard. It appears to show military speedboats surrounding the British tanker, the Stena Impero. A helicopter hovers above the ship. This is the moment the Revolutionary Guard says it sees the British tanker that is at the center of the latest tensions in the Gulf. Inside the helicopter, men, faces covered with ski masks, prepare. Then one by one, they descend onto the ship's deck. They are mimicking the tactics used by British Marines when they seized an Iranian tanker near Gibraltar 2 weeks ago.
مطلع شدیم که یک فروند تانکر با پرچم انگلیس در مسیر ترددش با یک شناور صیادی برخوردی داشته. در پی این حادثه دریایی با تلاشی که صورت گرفت که تماسی برقرار بکنیم و علت سانحه و چرایی سانحه و همچنین نحوه سانحه رو ارزیابی بکنیم که متاسفانه شناور انگلیسی پاسخ نداد و اقدام به تغییر مسیرش کرد و این تغییر مسیر خلاف مقررات بین‌المللی هست.
Iran says that the British ship was boarded and brought to Iranian waters after the distress calls were ignored. While Iran says that it detained the tanker because it broke maritime law, Tehran has been threatening for weeks to seize a British tanker in retaliation for an Iranian tanker taken by British authorities near Gibraltar earlier this month. That Iranian tanker is still in British custody, and British officials say it's being legally processed.
We need to see due process happening in Iran as well. We need to see the illegal seizing of a British-flagged vessel reversed. We need that ship released.
The British foreign minister said he spoke with Iran's foreign minister, Javad Zarif, today by phone and expressed his disappointment. Meanwhile, Hunt says the UK has increased its threat level and is extremely concerned about the security of shipping in the important Strait of Hormuz. Rebecca Collard, CBC News, Beirut.
As a live look at Toronto's harbour front tonight, it is a hot and steamy one out there. How long will we be trapped in this stifling heat? We'll ask Amanda after the break. Some Raptors hopefuls brought the heat indoors today. The dancers auditioned to become part of the North Side crew, formerly known as the Raptors Dance Pack. And with a championship in the bag, organizers say more people than ever are hoping for a chance to cheer the players on.
It's really just getting the fluids in, trying to keep that core temperature down, maybe dumping some water on you on the run, and yeah, getting some salt in too.
They came prepared for the heat. The weather did not stop these triathloners from taking to the course today at the Toronto Triathlon Festival. Hundreds of athletes competed around Ontario Place, swimming, biking, and running, and they will continue this tomorrow. Many say they were happy to participate despite the heat.
Putting water over their head, just keeping them cool, keeping them hydrated, and of course keeping them motivated, because the one thing that they lose the most is their mind and their mentality. It starts to shift because they're tired, their head goes down.
It wasn't just adults taking on fitness goals in this weather. Kids also got active today at City Shred Kids, a community workout event. They endured a morning of sun, sweat, and fun with pro soccer player Dwayne De Rosario. Kids were treated to a motivational talk by the soccer player while participating in epic challenges relays, all in the name of keeping kids active. It's quite a balance that we have to strike in that heat, Amanda, and this active weather. Some more warnings to talk about?
Yeah, Maribel, right in the between time with us together on air, a tornado warning now in effect. So reading off some of these areas: Winchester, Newington, Maxville, Alexandria, and this is for southern Ontario and towards the east as well. If you are in this area, it's time to seek shelter immediately and don't come out until this warning is relieved. Now we're getting into our other side of the story: the heat, the temperatures over that 30-degree mark, and the heat dome that has been in place continuously plaguing much of eastern parts of North America. It's the heat and the humidity that really just gets to you on a daily basis. And I think Chris Sinclair was the one that was describing this the other day here at the Weather Network on Twitter, saying when you walk outside, it feels like someone's throwing a wet, hot blanket on top of you. Consecutive days in that heat. We have certainly seen that in Toronto, and currently with that heat warning in place, this is something you want to take seriously, as serious as active weather. Never leave anyone inside of a hot car, for sure, pets included, because humidex values can certainly make you need hydration. They can also make you feel really dizzy. Keep that house ventilated, and again, never leave anyone inside a car. But I'm also here to tell you about those humidex values lowering just a touch after the storm that we're going to be experiencing through the overnight hours, through the next little bit. We could see that cold front really peel off those humidex values. So I just want to circle back just really quickly. We do have that heat, but we also do have a tornado warning currently in fact for eastern Ontario. If you do know someone in this area, give them a call and let them know that there is a strong storm passing through their area, and it is time to seek shelter immediately. Maribel?
Thanks for the latest on that. Thanks, Amanda.
No problem.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for watching. We're going to leave you with some sights and sounds from the Matadi International Drumming Festival in Regent Park today. Have a great night, everyone. Stay cool.